There are two things you notice when you arrive in Ulaanbaatar, and the first is the temperature. This is the world's coldest capital, and this morning the thermometer was showing minus 27 degrees centigrade. The second is the pollution. The sun's just coming up, and what you think is morning fog is actually a layer of pollution blanketing the city. And here in one of the worst affected neighbourhoods, every breath I take is full of coal smoke. I can smell that the air is absolutely filthy. I want to find out what it's doing to the city's inhabitants and to children whose lungs are still developing. Dr. Oyunbaleg is a senior paediatrician at this children's hospital. She tells me in Mongolia, respiratory illness is the biggest killer of children under 5. In the intensive care ward, Mungun has pneumonia and is struggling to clear his lungs. He's only 8 months old. Okay.
Бага насны хүүхдүүдийн өвчлөл ялангуяа тэр дунд амьслын замын өвчин, гурс улаан бачуурал, уушгины хатгалгаа өрсөлд өвчин бол илтгэлээд.
According to UNICEF, cases of respiratory infections have tripled here over the last 10 years as pollution surges. Dr. Oyunbaleg says a disaster is unfolding and she's overwhelmed.
Яг ийм амьдрал тохиолдлууд миний амьдралд ингээд гарч байгаа учраас надад айгүй асуулт энэ тохиолдлыг ярихад ялангуяа ирээдүйн хүүхдүүдийн тухай ингээд бодохоор бас эмзэг хэцүү байна л да. Тэгээд зарим ээж нар ч ингээд ялах хүүхдээ барайл ирээл хүүхд нь ингээд их цавртай уйлал барайл ингээд бид нар хүртэл заримдаа орох байх газар олдох байх газар олдохгүй шүү дээ. Яах вэ? Аргаа гараад байлаа шүү дээ.
Bolaredina has been by Mungun's side for the past 10 days, leaving her husband to care for her 2 other children. I leave Mungun, exhausted from coughing and breathing from a tank of oxygen. The next few days will be critical for him. Mungun's doctor suggested I join Dr. Minjma, a colleague, on her round of home visits. We're off to visit a newborn baby who's living in a ger, one of the traditional homes. Many of the city's poorer residents live year-round in these felt tents.
Ирмүний өхөд юм бол нэгдүгээр шиндэрсэн жоохон байна. Жоохон гүрдэлхлэр хайгуу дархлаасалтай байгаа. Хоёрдугаар эднийх маань гэр ороод тэгээд яг гал түлээд амьсгалын нутагт авах юу тархины даралтай болох зэрэг эрсдлүүд бол өндөр байна. Гэр орлын нөхцөл амьдарч байгаа бүх хүүхдэлэр нэм өндөр эрсдэлтэй байгаа.
It's minus 20 outside, minus 20. We're in a tent and it's toasty warm, all thanks to this stove. But there are more than 500,000 of these in the capital, all pumping out smoke, and it's adding up to a public health disaster. The coal smoke creates a smog of floating soot particles. Some of these are small enough to bypass the body's defences and cause fatal illnesses, respiratory disease, heart disease, even cancer. The most dangerous particles are called PM2.5. The PM stands for particulate matter. The 2.5 means they're less than 2.5 thousandths of a millimetre across. Invisible and potentially deadly. It was minus 23 this morning. This is when air is at the worst. I can smell the particulate in my nose. It's filthy. And what's most worrying is that according to the World Health Organization, the threshold for pollution for PM2.5 should be 25. According to this little measurer, it's getting close to 900. It's an approximate reading, but it shows me the scale of the problem. I've come here to meet Mungu's dad. This also happens to be one of the most polluted neighbourhoods in the city. Like many people in the capital, Gan Barta was born in the countryside and moved to the city to earn a living. He says it's painful watching his children growing up in its filthy air. What about the air quality in this area? How does that affect you? Which is Mungu's room? Here. Here. According to this, the pollution's really high. It's hazardous. The recommended level of that is 25. It's more than 15 times the recommended level. Do you worry about bringing Mungu back here? Gan Barta faces a terrible dilemma. He's just started a new business, making and selling noodles, but staying in the city puts his children's health at risk. Gan Barta has to make some deliveries. His route takes us through Ulaanbaatar's expanding suburbs. Driving around, do you notice that some places are more polluted than others? Gan Barta said when he moved here from the countryside 20 years ago, the pollution was much less. But 1.5 million people now live in this city, half of Mongolia's entire population. From a lookout point, the director of the National Centre for Public Health shows me the cloud of smog poisoning the capital. Dr. Tsog Barta advises the government on the impact of pollution.
Air pollution is number one public health problem. It is catastrophe. This is probably the one of the worst polluted situation in the world ever.
It's just disappeared in the smog.
Disappeared in the smog.
And what is that? What are the health implications of what we're looking at? What does that mean for those people's health?
There is no one organ that air pollution doesn't affect. particularly cardiovascular and respiratory, brain function, reproductive health are mostly affected by air pollution at the drastic level.
The air pollution is giving people lung cancer, it's killing people, it's causing stillbirths and miscarriage.
We have our enemy, collective enemy identified. Now it's time for us to start changing things rapidly.
How are you going to fix this problem?
The ultimate solution to fix air pollution is to get rid of raw coal. Bigger question is, how are we going to implement that?
Most people here can only afford the cheap raw coal that causes this pollution. Dr. Tsogbata told me there's only one definite way to breathe clean air. Leave the city. I take his advice and head out to the countryside. When I left Ulaanbaatar, I checked the air on my pollution monitor and it was between 8 and 900. I'm checking it now and it says 1. I wonder why anyone would abandon air like this for the smog of the city. I soon find out. There's a pony and 2 calves here, and they obviously weren't able to get enough pasture to keep going through the winter months. The Mongolians have a word for this, they call it a dzud, and it means when the grass doesn't grow in the summer, so it can't sustain the animals in the winter. And for the herders who depend on these animals for their livelihood, it's a disaster. We follow a trail of carcasses. So far this winter, 700,000 animals have died. It's the 3rd year in a row the dzud has struck. Climate change is making these deep freezes more common and more severe. A few miles off-road, we come across a family of nomads. The herder, Batbold, tells me the lack of pasture has devastated his livestock. His animals are starving. Some are so weak, if they lie down for too long, they die. There you go. How many times a day do you do that? Inside, they're trying to keep the weakest animals alive. What's up with the goat over here? The loss of a single goat is a financial blow. This winter, Batbold has already lost a third of his animals. He's watching his world fall apart. Hay is in short supply, so Batbold has taken out a loan to pay for feed. This means if he loses more livestock, he'll go bankrupt. So you really need all your animals to stay alive now? Mr. Batbol's typical of the herders who are struggling to make it through these difficult winters. And it's situations like this where the livestock is dying that's making so many decide to give up and relocate to the capital. Batbold leaves to round up some animals that have wandered off in search of food. Like his livestock, he's entirely at the mercy of the elements. And every time someone like him is driven off the land, another coal fire is lit in the capital. What's happening in the countryside is causing 40,000 people to move to the city each year. In these rapidly expanding neighbourhoods, there's no running water. And there's only limited access to electricity and central heating. For now, coal is the only option. The air today is absolutely terrible. But this has reached the limit of what it can measure. 999 is as high as it goes, and an app I've got has declared the pollution today an airpocalypse. I'm anxious to find out how baby Mungun is doing. Hi Bolaredina, how are you? Nice to see you again. How's Mungun doing?
Баруун уушгинд бол амар хатгатай байсан даа. Гэтэ гахаараа болов бахаа гэж бодож. Цэвэрч нэрч хэлсэн. Миний хувьд ч гэсэн хүн хэцүү. Тэгэл одоо уйлал байхад нь дөөр хийж чадсан чинь дагаад хэлж мэлэх ч юм тэгэл. Бас хэцүү л байсан. Өөртөө ингэж амар өвдөж өрч ингэж хамаа ууж захиж ингэж гасаа үзээвсэн. Би чинь 2000 онд орж ирэхэд хотын утаач нэг юм амар үл байгаагүй. 2-3 удаа ингээл дотоод төрхөөс ахуулаад энэ асуудалтай.
Many mothers here have had a similar experience. Scientists researching air pollution in Ulaanbaatar have found it harms children in the womb, causing premature birth, low birth weight and miscarriages. In the heavily polluted winter months, 5 times as many unborn babies die.